is a Swiss Army knife of data analytics, but she is so much more than that. By day, she helps brands make sense of messy customer signals, but by night, she turns dinner into a data therapy session. Dim Sum X, the networking series she founded, is a guided, meaningful dinner experience where data and analytics professionals swap stories and form friendships over steaming baskets of dumplings. She is a master at connecting people through the language of food. And as a participant in not one, not two, but 3 Dim Sum X's, I can personally attest to the amazing experience that it is, the friendships that you form, the lasting connections, and I will change my flight to get to the conference early enough to be able to attend a Dim Sum X. So definitely recommend going to the next one at the next conference that you happen to be at if it's there. If that sounds unconventional, wait until you hear today's talk. Chelsea's going to show us how to make dashboards multi-sensory stories so even the most jaded stakeholder can taste the insight. So whether your idea of comfort is SQL or Shumai, get ready because Chelsea is about to serve up a feast of marketing analytics wisdom. Please give her a warm welcome.
Thank you. Like I mentioned, I would like to invite you all to sit up close. And also, if you don't feel like you enjoy this presentation, feel free to walk away. You won't hurt my feelings, because that's how Measure Camp works. So you have so many sessions to attend. There's another amazing speaker right next door, but I hope this presentation will be good enough that you will stay. All right, let's get started. So before we get started, I would like to invite you to do a little bit of opening ceremony. I know you just ate, maybe you have a little bit of food coma, so why don't we close your eye, okay? You're all safe, so I'm watching you, so you don't need to worry. And we're gonna do some breath work, and we're gonna do 3 breath work. One is for our body, and one is for our mind, and then last is for our heart. You ready? Okay, all right. Now you may open your eyes. Very good job. Awesome. Okay, so before I get started, I have a little disclaimer I wanted to share. I know this presentation might be a little bit different, but I would like to share with you a vision. A vision might feel a little bit unexpected, but I feel like it might be the future where we're headed. So today, we live in a world where dashboards are bombarded us with all this information. It's informed all the information, but it really inspires you. And we have a lot of alerts, right? Constantly barking, but doesn't move us. And also we have charts that are seen, but not felt. And I feel like with the AI, human-centered design, and then also the demand for faster, informational decision-making, I feel like we're actually entering a new era of analytics. And it's called experiential analytics. So, and in the experiential analytics, we're not just seeing, right, but we're heard, we felt, and remembered. Let me introduce you experiential analytics at the speed of sound. Today, I would like to show you how to make your data insights memorable, emotional, and unforgettable. First question, how many of you have looked at the table like this before? Raise your hand. Okay, I'm gonna look for those that who doesn't raise your hand, you must be a liar. And how many of you have turned this into a chart? Data, numbers, chart, dashboard, and repeat and rinse. I call this the visual trap. I feel like data fatigue is so real. We're constantly have all this GA4 dashboard, Tableau, Looker, you name it, blah, 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 blah. We're constantly clicking, scrolling, and searching for meaning. But I feel like it's time to move beyond dashboards. Let's make insights unforgettable through sound. You may say, okay, why sound, right? Let's play a game. You might have to close your eyes again. There's a lot of closing eyes in my presentation, just kidding. But I'm gonna play a couple sound, and I would like to invite you all to shout out loud when you hear the sound, if you recognize them, okay? Ready? What is this? Yes, okay, so close your eyes, close your eyes. Okay, I'm gonna play the next one, you don't open eyes. Okay. This one. Intel. Very good.
McDonald's.
Very good. Okay, this is the last one. Might be a tricky one. No looking, okay? Okay, good. Yeah, here we go. Very good. Awesome. So you all recognize this sound, isn't it? Isn't that amazing? So sound is not new. It's actually underused in analytics. So like Netflix, it can bring the anticipation, the attention. Intel have the trust, innovation, and then McDonald's has that familiar joy, and TikTok brings the cultural connection and memory. So why sound matter in storytelling? So did you know, on average, sound takes minimally 8 milliseconds to travel to your brain versus visual takes up to 40 milliseconds. So sound actually travels faster to our brain. That means also can spark instant emotional connection, which before storytelling. So I call it sound is the shortcut to the heart of your audience. So when was the last time the dashboard made you feel something? Raise your hand if you've ever experienced that. Oh, okay, I want to hear your story. What's your story?
I led a team of analysts and engineers building dashboards, so it's, I love it, and
Okay, so personal connection. What about in the back?
It should, one of three states. It should either make you panic, make you euphoric, or nothing.
Okay, or negative emotion. I wasn't positive. Raise hand there.
Slow, and always slow.
Okay, put you to sleep. Okay, that's right. Okay, so let's experience this. You ready? This looks familiar, right? Many of you have seen this. What if I tell you this data could sing? Okay, you ready? You want to hear it? Close your eyes again to enjoy that. But yeah, so this is how I have data sing. Data actually has a rhythm to it. So who wants to learn about like how I do that? So I'm going to show you, break it down in 6 steps. Ready? Step number 1, choose your data set. You pick a simple metric to sonify it, whether it's like what I use here is a click-through rate by month, or revenue year over year, or A/B testing, you name it. And after that, you crack those data into sound, but with some help from ChatGPT, because you need to sonify it, because you cannot translate like 0.87% right to a sound. How do you normalize that? So for example, you go to ChatGPT and say, how do I get a CDR to normalize to a 0 to 1 to 10 scale? And on the right-hand side, that's a play and plug normalization table. You can just plug numbers in, and then it can transfer the normalized note into that. So that's how you do it. And step number 3, you add context to the storytelling. So it's not just like up and down, right? But why, what's behind the reason that is there's dip and there's peak. So for example, July, we do not have any product placement. That's why we're seeing a decline in engagement. But for September and December, there's sales promotion and vehicle launch information that boosts the engagement. And then next, you turn data into sound. So what I do is I go to virtualpiano.net, and then you hit the record button, and then you just play the musical notes. And then for the dip and the peak, you place those 3x times, and then you save the files. So next, you create a visual, and you go to like whether you're using Canva or PowerPoint, and you kind of create those consecutive slides. For example, slide number 1 will be for January, slide number 2 is Jan-Feb, and then slide number 3, Jan-Feb-March. You get the concept. And then last but not least, now you combine them all into one. So you embed the sound into the presentation, and then you add animations to it. And voila, that's how you do it. So to quick recap, you pick a data set, normalize the scale to 1 to 10, add the insights, and map the pitch to the virtual piano tool, and then create visual with animations, and then combine audio and visuals. Does that make sense? Very simple, right? So we would love you to all try it and let me know how it goes. Okay, so yeah, there's a QR code, you can scan it. It will allow you to get to that table to plug and play if you want to play around with it. Next thing, I would like to share with you, as you heard at the very beginning, about the experiential analytics. And I want to introduce you to the next one. But before I start, I have some questions for you, or maybe sharing some of my personal pain points. Okay, who's in the room hates presenting data? Excuse my Chinese. Okay, who hates that? Okay, yeah, okay, you don't want to raise your hand. That's fine. And next, yeah, I did not know. I have such a talent. I could be a weather reporter, be an Oscar-winning weather reporter saying, this number goes up, this number goes down, goes up and down. So that's how people think I'm a weather reporter. And I think, okay, yeah, I have the deck creating, right? Now we need to go schedule a meeting to present the data. Okay. So there, you send a dashboard and no one reads it. It's frustrating, right? I spent so much time into it, it's really insulting. So I think, okay, what if you can present the data once and reach everyone? Wow, how amazing is that? So I would like to introduce you to a sync storytelling with voiceover dashboard. Who's ready to see it? All right, let's see. Okay. So here's how I turn a static dashboard into a dynamic narrated walkthrough using AI. Let's play it.
Hello, and welcome to this quick insight overview. Today we are highlighting why site-side retargeting drives higher engagement. Let's start on the left side of the chart. The general audience had an engagement rate of 10.6%. When combining general plus retargeting audiences, engagement increased slightly to 12.2%. However, when we look at pure retargeting audiences, engagement surged to 37.2%. That's almost 3 times higher than non-retargeted audiences. Now moving to the green bars on the right side, visitors to the Build Your Own page performed even better, achieving an engagement rate of 50.4%. This is a 50% improvement compared to standard visitor landing pages. Finally, at the far right, the hand raiser audience showed the highest engagement at 51.8%. This is our benchmark for maximum user intent. When comparing Build Your Own to hand raisers, we find that engagement levels are nearly equal. This insight tells us that encouraging more Build Your Own participation can be an effective strategy for capturing high-intent users. Now let's summarize the key learnings. First, retargeting audiences outperform non-retargeted audiences by 3 times. Second, Build Your Own audience engagement at 50.4% is almost as strong as hand raisers. Focusing on driving more Build Your Own participation offers a valuable opportunity to capture users who are highly likely to engage. Next, let's review the recommendations. Position the Build Your Own experience as a lower friction alternative for users who may not immediately opt in as hand raisers. If a user does not convert to a hand raiser, engaging them through Build Your Own is the next best outcome. In summary, retargeting combined with a strategic Build Your Own experience can significantly boost engagement and capture high-intent users. Thank you for reviewing this insight. Feel free to reach out if you would like to explore additional opportunities.
All right. If I didn't tell you, you may think I was a guy, right? How amazing is that? So it's super powerful. I might not be able to come up with the fluent description of the narrative of it myself, but I go into ChatGPT and then say, okay, here's a chart, help me come up with the insights. And then I use an app called the Maps. Not sure how many of you have used it, but I think Eric in one of the presentation earlier mentioned about that. And that's how you, create a quick presentation like this. So I feel like this is really important, that it has going to be a big, game changing as an analyst for ourselves. Then here are some of the reasons why I feel number one is that actually can help save so much time for us that we do no longer need to create a 300 slide decks, right? So now using the storytelling, it can free us from that. Number two, it helps the non-presenters shine. So the voiceover actually beats the stage fright. I can actually hide behind the stage and then you don't even have to look at me, but this guy is presenting it, the AI voice. And thirdly, you can close the data literacy gap, right, with the narrative and the numbers that create a better storytelling. Because I might not be the best person to present sometimes. I was so deep in the data, but using an AI can say, can you help me tell this story that even a 6-year-old can understand? So I think that's another advantage of that. And number four, it can scale insights across teams. How many of you actually feel that what you're presenting sometimes you wish it can travel further beyond your current team or department? Right, lots of head nodding. Same here, because I feel like I work in the analytics or data team, and most of my time, my presentation only get to be seen with strategy team, and if not really a creative team. And in order to do that, I have to go schedule the meeting with them and even have to share it. And people say, why do you share it with other team? It's such a gatekeeping information sometimes I feel. But if we have a solution like that, it's up in the SharePoint or something, anyone can come and then click and listen. And that can inspire across different disciplines, like project management, development, you name it. I feel like that's where we can really bring the data insights beyond just the marketing or strategy realm. The next one is actually free us from meetings. This is one of my favorite, because I feel like when we schedule a meeting, when we have the data presentation ready, but sometimes it takes so long to actually schedule the meeting, to find the schedule with the right key stakeholders, say, okay, let's have this meeting, and it takes a month. I was like, why are we waiting for a month to present this data? If I have this created, I don't need a meeting, tomorrow we can consume these insights. I feel like that's where it's gonna be the game changer for this. And last but not least, you can make the data speak for itself, even when you're not in the room. So it frees you up from that. How amazing is that? So, in a nutshell, one voice, 100x impact. It allows us to scale smarter, free our time, let the insight travel further, and boost the accessibilities of the insight, and give voice to more analysts. So, what comes next? What if Tableau had the sound plug-in? And what if you could train your dashboard to talk to you before a morning meeting? And what if the data was more like a podcast? How amazing is that? Instead of PDFs, I'm sorry. You're the future of analytics. You're in this room. You're not just an analyst. You're a translator, communicator, and also a connector. So, thank you. Let's make data unforgettable, one sound at a time, and build a future where metric inspire, not just inform. Thank you very much.
I think we have questions.
Soup tested this in a real-time use case. You deliver the dashboard, and then more data is going to keep coming in, and they want to make split-second decisions and have the sound, go with the real-timeness. I feel like you went over that, but could you speak to that a little bit?
Yes. I haven't yet, to be honest.
Okay.
But I would love to try. I'd love to invite you all to try as well. A lot of times, finding time, meetings to schedule with key stakeholders. But I don't know. I feel like all I want to say is I wanted to try it. I would love to see if you want to give it a try, and then see how you all have an experience with that. But yeah.
Thank you.
Yep.
I think there's different types of learners, and I think this is a great application for certain types of learners, right? I think that certain people are very, very visual, and they can't they want to see things in spreadsheets, right? And then there's people who are emotionally driven and want to hear more. So I think there's this hits a different type of audience, and it's for the people who tune out when people are talking too deep to them, and this can definitely I think hit a certain type of person who learns better in audio. And I also think it would be interesting from in almost like a blind community too, around learning in terms of how they process data and stuff like that. So I think it'd be interesting.
Yeah, that's very good.
So I spent 2 years to learn Python, and now I need to spend 2 minutes to learn how to animate this stuff. No, my question is, what are the tools that should I learn to get a result like yours? Especially the animation in the chart with the voiceover. Is Canva that, or is other?
Yeah, it's actually, I'm using an app called 11 Maps. So they have a lot of natural text-to-speech models. So you basically copy the text and then dump it in, and then they spit out a whole transcript, like a person really talking about exactly what you heard. And it can even allow you to choose a different voice, which is super amazing. And I think maybe this is where the future comes in, to talking a bit about emotional connection, right? What if one day you can pick a person a voice that you trust, like, I don't know, it's an actor or actresses, that was someone that you really familiarize with, and I think that will create that connection of the credibility and the information delivery. But currently, this is what I'm using. And there's actually a couple other options out there. You can check it out, like the ChatGPT, of course, but then AWS, Poly, and then Azure TTS. So, and there's one of the most recent one, I think it's called Sesame. But those will be some of the good tools to check out.
I personally like the idea of having the voiceover of the slide for that key stakeholder that couldn't make the meeting, where they said, just send me the slide deck and I'll read through it. It's like, well, yeah, but you're gonna miss all of the talk over, the narration around the slide. So having that to be able to send out to them where, yes, they see the slide, but now they're getting that voiceover along with it. I think that's critical.
Yeah, I totally agree, and I was thinking the same thing. A lot of times it's either the key stakeholder can't come, or you just have to show that somebody's going to flip it to a key stakeholder, and you realize you don't get to give the voiceover. Have you had experience? I think you said you were an agency, so I am as well. So I'm curious whether or not when you share these, do you share, like if you have, for example, you've done a whole lot of analysis, you've done there's a number of different stories you want to tell. Are you sharing these in story level sound bites as opposed to one, like, so for example, if you were going to normally send a 20-page deck or even a 5-page deck, do you send that in 5 sound bites so that they only have to listen to each, little sound clip, or do you send it as one big thing? I'm curious as to what you found works best.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Advantage of not doing it yourself, though, of not doing the voiceover yourself. Like, I use Sight a lot, and I send it to clients. I can see they've seen it. I can see how much of it they've watched. What's the advantage of the fake voiceover?
Yeah, I think, again, maybe being a presenter that maybe I'm less confident. You're maybe a different story, right? So I'm actually, English is my second language. So sometimes I'm like struggling, like, okay, how do I say this word? So I'm like, okay, But if I compare to that person, the AI, it's so fluent, right? Just like, okay, hear it, okay, I follow through. So I feel like for me, being an analyst, it helps me to remove me from the stage fright. Or I think that's my benefit, at least from my perspective. Yeah.
Kind of building off what you said, I think one of the things that I think about as I see those voiceovers and kind of the longer presentation style is kind of the similarity to creative, right? We're always using something to create a 30-second ad and a 15-second version and a 10-second version, and the options and the ability to use other tools, AI or otherwise, to do the same with a presentation, I think would be really cool to kind of see how that could play out, just to be able to kind of level up, right? The person that has 3 minutes to understand and needs the biggest takeaways, and the person that has half an hour and needs to go through the whole presentation or something like that. So I don't know, just kind of where my brain went as you were talking about, full presentations and things like that.
Sorry, the more you talk, the more ideas pop in my head. Now you got me thinking like a audio DJ. How much editing are you doing of this?
DJ, what do you mean?
Like, almost like, you listen to the audio one time and you didn't quite get this section right or this section right. Do you find or are you pretty much just letting it ride, having it, output what it's going to output, or are you doing any editing in between?
Yeah, I think it comes from the script originally. I think the script, right? Yeah, because I think that's where if I feel like, okay, it's too long, then I have to kind of adjust it. And then maybe you test it out with your team, or even, I don't know, you have someone that's not from the analytics background. Like, does that make sense to them? Because I think a lot of the times that's where the key stakeholders, they don't speak our language, right? The very nerdy data language. And then say, okay, how does that sound? But I think that's where I would tweak it, but not after I recorded it, because it takes a lot of time going back and forth, to edit it. So, but it's a very great question,
All right, I have comments on this, I have comments on that, and I have comments on that. All right, for Fred, Chelsea and I were talking about this yesterday, where a really interesting application of this would be if you were able to program in whatever voice you wanted.
And so you could, for instance, if you have somebody that you trust more, or somebody at the organization that you get information from that has more ability to persuade, you can program in their voice too, and it has a psychological effect on, oh, I'm receiving this data and I trust it, right? Which is an interesting application of that. Especially for people who are juniors who don't have as much confidence. They can program in the person who's the senior, who usually presents the information, to have more of a kind of psychological effect of confidence on it. So we were thinking about that. And then for this, it would be very interesting to have the ability to self-select the amount of time that you receive the information in. So I could see this eventually turning into, as opposed to like a single single voiceover of the entire thing, people could say like, oh, I want to hear these insights in 30 seconds. I want to hear these insights in 30 minutes. And be able to use that voiceover to kind of get the information they need as quickly as possible. I think that wraps up yours too, where you were thinking about the editing of that process, right? Where it's kind of just pulling from an LLM, right? And eventually it will just be able to be built in, but it's kind of that overall, I want this explained to me, that I think is valuable.
So something really clicked for me with this presentation, so thank you so much for sharing this. I've been seeing where they're integrating into Looker Studio, and other tools where you can interact with the dashboard, interact with data, and say ask a question. And I think the text response of things is not that exciting for me, but when there's a voiceover. So what I think about is in meetings, or you could send out a recap to the audience of people that are supposed to be looking at the data, they have questions and they get what they need, and then maybe they can interact with it a little bit. And maybe it shifts the conversation from we have a meeting to review the data and talk about the data to everyone has a shared understanding, and once we get into a meeting, it's more about taking action and what are we going to do about it. So, very cool. Thank you so much.
We have time for last question. Final V1, seriously final question.
It feels like a cop-out to say it's less of a question and more of a comment, but I think I see the benefit that you were mentioning earlier. I think when you remove you as the speaker from the presentation, that expertise, that knowledge that they associate with you is distant, but for those sort of regimented, automated things that you would send to a vast majority of people, those monthly recaps, oh, here's what's going on with this month. I really see the benefit of something like this, those short little chunked out pieces, rather than you send it to one, your core team. They relay incorrectly some of the information, and it starts to spiral from there. So those sort of bite-sized, on-demand pieces that something like this can produce easily and effectively, I really see the benefit of something like that, while still using yourself as the epicenter for that expertise with this as an additive piece. So this is really exciting thing that I didn't anticipate walking away from.
Thank you. Amazing. Thank you so much. Really appreciate